Hello and welcome again. I'm Catherine Young, and this is our channel, Our Courage to Heal podcast. Before we begin, let me just say this. I'm not a professional healer and I cannot diagnose. I'm just another person who has been wounded but guided to receive healing. And now I'm here to share my story with you so that hopefully you too can find your courage to heal and stay on the healing journey. Now, let's begin. Hello, how are you? I'm back in Sydney. This is the first episode I have recorded since coming back to Sydney, and it's a very special episode because I wrote this much earlier on in my healing journey, and when I go back to Singapore this time round, I find myself going through cycles of anger, injustice, resentment, and then reminding myself to come back to healing and then feeling love, empathy, and kindness, and then strengthening my bond with my mom just to go through the cycle again when things go other way. And it happened often because I have received healing, but she is having a different journey, and therefore, how do we who are healing on a different journey experience this closure or this alignment? It takes me a while, but I have come to realize and accept that it's like an athlete training for the marathon, training for an Olympics. It's going through what we have learned through healing over and over again and strengthening our foothold journey on life with a more positive light and strengthening our loyalty to love and joy. I hope these episodes help you to journey on your healing journey, even when it gets tough, even when it gets very challenging, especially when our loved ones are on a different journey. And I hope you find peace and joy in this episode. Thank you and love you so much. Book 2, Courage to Heal, The Healing, Chapter 12. How do I forgive my mom? She single-handedly sent me to hell. I didn't have much memory of my childhood. There are scattered fragments of happenings around my brother and second sister. Some of them are really beautiful and heartwarming, while others are abusive and scary. The face-on cold face screaming right into my face. The random abusive name-calling and shaming whenever my brother wished to. These memories were buried deep and safely away until the day the psychotherapist unveiled them in 4D experience. I felt it all. This familiar fear, the shock, the frozen state. I know these feelings. They were part of my everyday once upon a time. Some as early as I was 6 years old. I was trembling and my hands turned cold on that summer afternoon, sitting in the therapist's office as a 41-year-old woman. You have to stop now. This is too much. I left shortly after, confused, overwhelmed, filled with fear, anger, hatred, and unjust. I hated my brother and sister, the pain, the hatred, and then I sobbed. It was my mom who sent me to hell. She left me to fend for myself, to fend for her pride, dignity, and insecurities. And this continued for decades, until I left my sister a month after seeing this therapist. My sister was narcissistic to us all, even my mom, and apparently I was the only survivor. The rest were labeled useless, incompetent, selfish, worthless piece of shit. Yes, even my mom. She reminded me countlessly how useless my mom was whenever she got angry. In recent times, this second sister even shared her plot to make my mom sad when my mom misbehaved, quoted unquoted. I was the only worthy one who wasn't a school dropout. She told me because I was the youngest, her expectations were low to begin with. So lucky for me. Her constant judgments were like trials held at home. There were no rules. The only rules were those she approved. She overturned authority at home and reduced my mom to tears, with sharp words and heart-piercing cold attitude. Having bombed once, twice, thrice, my mom decided that the best person to handle her was me, an innocent, empathetic people pleaser. Defenseless, I learned the ropes to a cordial relationship building with a narcissist. I did so well. My sister felt the connection, understood and heard. And soon I became the designated spokesperson and harmony bridge builder at home. What my mom refused to acknowledge were the infrequent and random sudden bombs that exploded fully on me alone, while I was still learning the ropes. Those bombs were quiet but deadly. It sent chills down your spine, makes you feel lost and hopeless, makes you carry on life with fear mostly, and sometimes confusing and very demeaning to the innocent mind. It's the number one weapon in human relationships, the silent treatment for the young child. And as we get older, the weapon changes. It became an explosive, massive string of hurtful, abusive, and shaming texts before long silent treatment. The longest one, 3 years. I didn't feel this angry before, but when the therapist brought awareness to me, I wanted to leave the second sister. I went to my mom to seek her understanding, but Mom said, "She's all alone. Not a single loved one around her. She stays all alone. How pitiful. She's close to you and she talks to you. You're happy together. Just her temper." The same narrative that held me hostage for decades. Mom, how could you hide behind this seemingly innocent view and send me to this narcissistic child of yours over and over again? My heart turns cold. I lost any sensations, even my brain froze. It's hard to believe this is my family growing up. I told my mom I was sick, and I nursed my broken heart in the solidarity of my small family. My own mother sent me over and over again to her, the emotional abuser. I will use my life to protect my children. How could Mom send me to danger? It was a long month of healing and untangling these messy heartstrings. I vowed never to accept them into my soul family. The right side of my brain tightens and froze in action as I recall them. These little sensations, so familiar to me since young. I am trained to be comfortable with them. As healing takes place, I begin to see different people in my space of awareness, consciousness, and thoughts. I stopped seeing my mom and sister. I saw my son. He was innocent, like the young me, but he has traits familiar to me. Whenever he broke down and needed me, he reminded me of my sister and brother, randomly screaming, shouting, and abusive. I ran away from him like a plague. As his voice grew louder and actions wilder, sometimes I used my anger to mask my triggered fear. But he is not them. He is my son. My story, my past wound, continues onto my son, as innocent as I was when I was 6. I don't know and will never know what my mom went through. Her memories were fragmented like mine. She had never went through healing. Her only healing were her religious faith and any kindness her children could spare her. She had no authority at home. She lost them long ago when she was bullied as a child. She saw a lifeboat in me and she climbed onto my raft, however little my raft was. I remember now. I made a vow to never let her down and to always protect her. I was so little then. I saw her packing the fridge and crying after my siblings yelled at her, reducing her to tears. She was triggered, felt lost, and yet her generation has no words for all these. They are supposed to grit on, put on a public front, and continue to sacrifice for the family. She was silenced. When I saw this, I finally understood what it meant by everyone has their own story. I felt grateful and so blessed. I was given the path and abundance to access healing. As I heal, I understand this is a chance to stop this intergenerational trauma and wound. I need to stop this here and give a fair chance and unfiltered love to my family, especially my children. My soul has chosen this mom, this life experience to lead me to this deep healing. And this journey has given me so much. I learned to be empathetic, sensitive, compassionate, and loving. Essential traits of a salesperson. It certainly helped me get through seasons of life when I needed to earn pocket money and accommodation fees during varsity days. Although it seemed cruel of Mom to do this, her reliance on me gave me a close and very strong bond. Although I went through hell with my sister, I experienced this deep connection, loyalty, and protection with Mom. A priceless love relationship that humans long for. A connection my narcissistic sister never experienced before. Her heart was bitter from the disconnect. Her judgmental, brutal, self-centered, childish behavior has sentenced her with a lack of love and connection. I spoke calmly to my mom. I explained how I need to be there for my young children and husband, especially since we were all alone overseas. I needed to be strong mentally and emotionally. I had to live with sister. Frankly, the only frequent trouble I had over the decade. Mom felt it, hurt me, although still trying sometimes to bring me back to the sister. They were softer and fading almost. This is a valuable experience. I have to drop my armor and defenses to protect myself. Our emotions send triggers to people in so many different ways. Words and reasoning could not be heard. Only the emotions were charging and sometimes attacking to the listener. I learned to speak more calmly to my mom and my husband, and my relationships got better and better. Are you still hurting because your mom or dad have hurt you? Was it hard to seek closure? Can you face them? I invite you to seek closure from your own heart space instead. We are a different generation. Being post-war children, they had emotionally unavailable parents who were only trying to meet the basic needs of food and shelter. They were wounded as us, but unable to articulate or even recognize their emotions. They will wear their armor to the grave, thinking it's only normal. And yet, they have gifted us so much. We will all find our strengths and values through these valuable experiences. If you have started healing and found yourself, would you take a moment to find that strength to see and recognize these hurting loved ones whom you value and love them again? I wish you the strength of an eagle, which is said to use the powerful storm to fly above it rather than get caught within it. The eagle spirit is a wisdom teacher, one who advises how to utilize the storms of ego to fuel your capacity to rise spiritually, to face problems head on and use them to heal and grow. For now, I'll be rooting for your healing journey. I will be rooting for your ultimate journey to feel love for those who truly matters, and that includes you. I'll be rooting for you.